What is my next step, Olivia? Before that, you...
Minus 36.
Perfect. And then why don't you tell me the next step, since you pretty much already told me it.
You divided by negative 3.
Divide it by negative 3. Okay, Tiffany, we're going to pick it up from here. So I get 12 equals x minus 4 squared. What do I do next, Tiffany? You square root it. So I'm guessing you guys have a decimal. What was the square root of 12? 3.4641 equals x minus 4. Do I have one answer here, Tiffany, or do I have another one? What would be different about the second one? It's just a negative in front of it, right? All right, Tiffany, how do I get x by itself? Add 4, good. So you're going to end up, Kyle, with what answers for your roots?
7.4641 and 0.5359.
Okay, I rounded his answers a little bit, but those are correct. Okay, Mark, I'm coming back to you. I'm going to ask you another question.
Why you asking two?
I asked a lot of people 2 questions. Okay, Mark, can you tell me what the vertex is for the problem? 4 and 36. Mark, do you know how you know it's 4 and 36? Is that a no? It's okay, you can say no. Kyle, can you help him out? Can you tell him how we know it's 4 and 36?
Oh, no, I know.
What?
Because this how you do it right here. You do the little, I ain't get the, write it down all the way. I can't read it out.
Okay,
It's connected right there, though. I know.
good. I'm glad. Kyle, what do you got? Opposite of h, which is negative 4, so opposite of negative 4 is 4, and k, which is 36. That's why we like vertex form, right? Because we don't have to worry about finding the vertex. It comes easier. All right, number 2. Does everybody have these correct answers down for number 1? All right, I'm going to move it on. We're going to look at number 2, which is y equals 2/3 times x minus 5 squared plus 24. All right. Adrian, what form is this in? Vertex. Lovely. And Adrian, let's skip right to what the vertex is. Can you tell me? 5 and 24, right? That's why we like vertex form, because you can tell what the vertex is right away. Okay. Cameron, how would I solve this problem? What would I start with? Perfect. That's always our first step. What's your second step, Cameron? Subtract 24 from both sides. Okay. One more, Cameron. What do I do next? Divide by 2/3. Or we could times by the reciprocal. Either way, it'll give you a nice answer. And we get, what, negative 36? Hey, Gina, I'm going to ask you the big question. What do I do now? All right. What happens when I square root a negative? So what are my roots? You don't have any. No real roots. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's not no solution, it's no real roots, because you do have imaginary roots. And you'll talk more about that in Algebra 2. All right, let's move on. We are at the first number 3. We are at the first number 3, and we've got y equals x squared minus 5x minus 66. So, Cynthia, what form is it in? It is a standard form. So, Cynthia, how would I start off this problem then? The first thing I'm going to do is do what? Instead of y, I'm going to put, not x, but 0. am I going to solve for x, Cynthia, or am I going to make a box? You're going to make a box. All right, Joe, I'm moving on to you. What two things can I put in this box? It should be pretty simple. Very nice. What things can I put in the circles that should be pretty easy? Please stop talking. I am recording right now. It is very distracting. Thank you. Okay. So let's move on. Mitchell, how do I know what these other boxes and other circles are? What is the rule behind this? I've got to have them be what? They've got to multiply to give you negative 66, and they've got to add to be. What factors did you find that multiply to give you negative 66? Negative 11 and 6, because they add together to give you negative 5. What do I do now? How do I find my roots from here, Mitchell? Set them equal to 0. So I've got x minus 11 equals 0 and x minus 6 equals 0. So my roots are what, Mitchell? Not negative 6, but 6. Oh, you're right. It should be negative 6. It should be positive 6. Oops. Miss Murphy made a mistake. So negative 6 and positive 11. Good catch. All right. Jeff, how do I find my vertex when it's in standard form? Because it's a little different than vertex form. Okay, so this becomes positive. And I put it over what? Times 1, right? Or 2. So I get 5 halves, or 2.5. Am I done with my vertex? I plug it back into the equation, and what do I get for my answer? Negative 72.25. And what do you guys got to remember to do? You got to make sure you put parentheses around the problem that you put in for x. Do you have a question, sir? Yes. All right. We are moving all the way to number 6. This group's doing number 6. I said the right one this time, Jeff. Okay. Doing number 6. Y equals x squared plus 3x minus 40. So, Amy, let's start with you. What form is it in?
It is in standard form.
Standard. Oh. Perfect, not spell standard. Okay. So, what method am I going to use to solve it? Am I going to set it equal to 0 and then just solve, or I'm going to make a box? What am I going to do, Amy? I'm going to make a box. So I'm going to do what we call factoring. Okay. So Amy, what ones do I know I can put in the box at the very beginning? Do you remember?
Yeah, x squared and negative 40.
Perfect. Okay, Luan. What do I do next? Is there anything I can put in those circles pretty easily?
X.
Okay. Now, how do I know what goes in these other boxes and these other circles? They've got to multiply to give me what number? Negative 40, but add together to give me 3. So which two numbers did you choose?
8 and negative 5.
8 and negative 5. Okay, so I get negative 5x. I get 8x. 8x plus negative 5x gives me 3. 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. Okay? So, Jeff, what do I do now to find my roots?
Plug in 0 for y.
Okay, so I get 0 equals x minus 5 times x plus 8. Then what? You separate.
Separate them.
Okay. And then what are my roots?
Roots are 5 and negative 8.
Perfect. And it's because I subtracted 8 from both sides, because I added 5 from both sides, right? Okay. So, you ready, Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay. Kyle, what formula do we use to find vertex, if it's in standard form? Do you remember it? Negative. Perfect. Okay, so what did you get when you plugged it in for that? So we plugged in negative 3 over 2 times 1, and that came up with, what's the x value for your vertex? We got negative 1.5. You times instead of multiplied. Okay, and then we plug it back in and we get the y value. So this is our vertex right here. And we get negative 50.25. Okay, so I've got my 2 roots, and I've got my vertex. Okay, we move on to Lazan's group has number 8?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got y equals x squared plus 17x plus 30. So, star, can you tell me what form it's in? Lovely. And when it's in standard form like this, how are we going to solve? We're going to make a what?
Box.
We're going to make box. All right. Star, can you tell me the easy 2 things that you put in the box? You what? Not 2 squared, but x squared. Right? And what's the other thing that goes into the box? 30. Good. All right, Ian. Go ahead. Okay. Lazan, how did I know it was going to be 2 and 15? It's got to multiply to give you, and it's got to add together to give you. Perfect. Okay. Can you tell me?
I'm sorry, but another way to double check your answer is if you write out x2 plus 2x plus 15x plus 30 and combine your like terms, and if it matches what you have, that's another way to double check your answer.
Okay. So, well, how do I'm sorry. I don't want to ask you to stop talking again because then I'm going to have to kick you out. So, what are my roots? I get x equals what?
X plus 2.
I get x plus 2 equals 0, and I get x plus equals 0. So, Luzan, what are my roots? X equals? And? Yep. Okay, Alex, you ready to tell me how to do the vertex? What do I do, Alex? Negative b over 2a. And what's your b? What's your a? What's your a? Okay. And what was your answer? Okay, so this is the start of my vertex. Alex, how did you find the other part of the vertex? Plugged it in for x, and what was your answer? Perfect. All right, we've covered every group, right?
Nope.
Oh, Derek's group.
I'll show you a second.
Okay, number 11. So, Derek, what is the form that is in? Standard. So, how are you going to solve it? You're going to do what? Make the what? Make the box thingy. Okay, Derek, tell me what I start with putting in here.
X squared and 12.
Okay. Ole, what is the little things I can do? Okay, so I've got to have numbers that are, because my problem is y equals x squared plus 13x plus 12. They've got to multiply to give me what? Add to give me 13, multiply to give me 12. So what are my numbers that go in there? 1x, 12x, so that's 12 and 1. So what are my roots, Lazan? Lazan. Ole?